Breaking news. This is your late night emergency World War III update. People have been blowing up my inbox all day while I've been in the tractor trying to get this homestead up to some functioning level of sustainability. They've been wondering, what are my thoughts on the death of the Iranian president and his foreign minister? The death of the Iranian president. The death of the Iranian president. It's surreal, isn't it? To think that 8 weeks ago, if I was to tell you that, hey, Israel was going to attack an Iranian consulate, killing a bunch of generals, Iran was going to respond in kind with 300 missiles and drones, something they've never before done to Israel, no less, and that then the nuclear rhetoric was going to ratchet up, and that the Iranian president was going to be dead along with the foreign minister, you might say, oh, that's great clickbait, Nate. But here we are. Now, whether or not this was a mistake, whether or not this was just due to some malfunction, some weather anomaly, is somewhat irrelevant. Not totally irrelevant. If they find any evidence that Israel was involved in this, this is going to be total all-out war, okay? What this is going to do is drive the Iranians to get nuclear weapons. Number one, there is no doubt about that. The Iranians are 100% going to pursue nuclear weapons after this, even if it was an accident. And that is because in the absence, in the vacuum that's now been created, you're likely going to have somebody enter into power who's more of a hardliner, who likely is going to be more anti-Israel than the previous administration. And people say, well, it's a theocracy. All the power lies in the hands of the supreme leader, and this administrative class isn't really that important. And I would disagree with that. You have numerous different levels of government within Iran. Most of them function relatively autonomously. You have the IRGC, which is the military. You have the political class. You have the theocratic class with the ayatollahs. And you still, in spite of the fact that you have this theocratic leader at the top, regardless, he's one guy. He's not doing all the work in the same way that Joe Biden ain't doing all the work. This was a massive blow to the Iranians. Let's not minimize or dismiss this at all. This was a massive blow, and whether or not it was intentional doesn't matter, because it's going to create more volatility. It's going to create more instability. It's going to entice the Israelis to make a move now in Rafah against Hezbollah, against the Hamas, and make a move against Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's going to give them the motivation, because now they're going to think, well, the Iranian administration is now in disarray. This is our opportunity to ratchet this up against their proxies, and they're likely not going to be able to respond as effectively. And people will say, well, no, the IRGC functions largely independently of the administrative wing of the government, and therefore it's probably not going to be a good strategy. Nonetheless, this vacuum of power is going to create instability in terms of global diplomacy, because the president of Iran and his foreign minister were incredibly popular with Russia and China and numerous other countries. And in the very least, what is going to happen now is all of these countries are going to see this. Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, they are going to be incredibly, even more careful in terms of their travel after watching this happen. Even if it was an accident, there's going to be plausible deniability, because, of course, it was the fog, it was the weather, and they couldn't find the plane, and the transponder, and the satellite wasn't working, or whatever. Okay, maybe it was a cyber attack, maybe it was sabotage. Who knows? There's always going to be plausible deniability. Will they ever get to the bottom of it? If they do, then World War III just comes a little bit quicker, okay? If they don't, and it's just deemed to be the result of malfunctioning equipment, which seems to be the case all over the planet right now. This is nothing that is unique to the Iranians. I mean, it took us how long just to shoot down a few Chinese balloons? We got bridges collapsing, barges running into bridges. We got planes falling out of the air. This is a global problem of a decaying, decrepit infrastructure, not only in the United States, but many places around the world, where austerity and the multipolar world that's emerging and the downgrade in the standard of living that results from that is causing the system to just slowly decay and collapse. It's the entropy of the Anthropocene, as I call it. Entropy of the Anthropocene. All things decay, okay, unless they're maintained and built upon. And we're in a period of decay and degradation, whether it be financial, geopolitical, in terms of biological, I mean, just in every possible dimension and metric, our world is starting to be thrown into a death spiral. And each one of these black swan events that happens increases the likelihood, and it's like a positive feedback loop. So this is going to have some very negative knock-on effects, regardless of whether it was intentional or not. And again, I just call your attention to the fact that a couple months ago, if I was to tell you that what has transpired in the last 2 months has happened, you'd probably, just think that I was trying to clickbait you. And, understood, because it seems insane what's happened here. But I guarantee you, Iran is going for nukes. There is no turning back on that. You're going to see somebody go in there who's more hardline, who is more antithetical to the Western point of view. You're going to possibly see a unification of the population, but, the Israelis and Americans could try to use this as an opportunity to create more civil unrest within the Iranian society. And I guess we'll have to see how exactly their government is structured. How powerful is the Ayatollah? The fact that this problem emerged from Azerbaijan, which is staunchly backed by the Israelis and has a lot of Israeli military equipment and political backing, is very suspicious. And I can only imagine how Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are conceptualizing this right now, okay? Because right now there is a massive void in the Middle East. And there's a lot of people who are trying to minimize this, friends of mine even, who are minimizing this as, well, it was just the president. And yeah, I mean, that sounds crazy to somebody who doesn't really know how the theocratic regime works there with the supreme leader. But this is very significant. This is the president of Iran who is dead. He is now dead. So don't downplay and dismiss this as a nothing burger. This is, even if he is just a figurehead, okay, even if he is just a, somebody who doesn't really perform any duties in terms of executive duties per se, and he's just there to talk to the camera, this is a very big deal, no matter how you slice it, because clearly what he was able to do, I mean, the Israelis seem to think that he was the one who was in charge because they call him the butcher, right? So you can't have it both ways. Either he did play some role in things, and that is why they're blaming what's happening in the Gaza Strip and Lebanon on him, or you just say that, well, he doesn't have any role whatsoever and it's all in the responsibility of the Ayatollah. But this most definitely is a big deal. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because, I mean, it's just going to lead to more unrest. And the fact that oil is flat tells you how manipulated the markets are. Silver and gold certainly ain't flat, that's for sure. They're spiking like crazy. I don't know if that's some kind of short squeeze or what is going on there. We know that the Chinese are going to be sweating, though, now, because, again, any instability within Iran potentially messes with their ability to procure the energy that they're going to need to continue to expand their empire, even if it is only within their own borders and potentially into Taiwan. So for all these reasons, I mean, you guys need to keep on prepping, man. I mean, the time is coming. And for all the people, the naysayers who leave hundreds of comments of a condescending nature, constantly accusing me of just using clickbait and fear-mongering, in spite of the fact that every single week, or not week, couple times a week, we get one of these black swan events. Let's not forget that just earlier in the week, we had a NATO leader attempt to be assassinated, possibly still will die as a result of that, still in critical condition. The fact that these events are just escalating, and in terms of the frequency in which they're happening faster and faster, and they're more and more intensity. And it's only a matter of time before that culminates. But one thing I'll say about those people who I know leave hundreds of comments, because I have an app, and on the back end it tells me who leaves the most comments. And the people who tend to leave the most comments usually are the people with these condescending remarks. And I think if I was to be generous and give these people the benefit of the doubt, I think part of the reason why they project negativity towards people like me is because deep down, they're wise enough to know how hard it will be to prepare. Now, I'm trying to give you guys credit here. You're wise enough to know that when the grid goes down, it is going to be hell to try to survive. And maybe you even know that more than the people who support the channel and who are friends of the channel. Maybe you deep down, you truly know like how challenging of an existence it's going to be when the lights go out and don't come back on. And that is why the power of your defense mechanisms to completely minimize and dismiss every single bad thing that happens that we say is going to happen before it happens as a big nothing burger, because nuclear bombs haven't fallen yet. Perhaps there's a profound wisdom there in that you're truly more aware of what it's going to take and how inept you are in that respect. And that is why you persistently exhibit this hardline normalcy bias in the face of mounting evidence that the system is falling apart. Okay? And the more and more things like this happen, it's going to create all of these other problems in different places. It's like, when you get an injury, when you injure your knee or something, it creates an imbalance. And then you have all these knock-on injuries that happen in other places because you're using your right leg more than your left leg, the one that was injured on. So you end up injuring that. And then you get some weird, condition developing in a different part of your body. And that's what happens, but only it's happening on multiple fronts. Climactic fronts, financial fronts, geopolitical fronts, biological hazards, the list goes on, and it's only going to continue. So this is why I'm out here doing what I'm doing while I can, while the getting is good, and I would encourage you to do so. Let me know what your thoughts on this and other things are in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Canadian Forever out.